Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia is proud to induct posthumously these outstanding broadcasters into our Hall of Fame. Dr. Rick Braidtenfeld, sometimes called Dr. B, helped pave the way for educational and instructional television. He directed a research study of what was then called educational television, a forerunner of today's public TV. His work led to the passage of the Public Broadcasting Act in 1967. During his time at WMPT Annapolis, Dr. B gave the young station national acclaim with Wall Street Week Consumer Survival Kit and Hodgepodge Lodge. From 1983 to 1997, Rick was president and general manager of Philadelphia's public television station WHYY and radio station WHYY-FM. In that time, he added $2 million to the station's operating budget and doubled the station's viewership. He also increased the radio audience substantially. It was during his leadership that a local program went national on NPR. That show was Fresh Air with Terry Gross. At an early age, Kevin Fennessy decided broadcasting was the field he'd pursue. For nearly 50 years, Kevin was everything from radio personality to TV host and whatever was needed. He started at age 10 with his own radio station in his bedroom. The station reached about 3 houses away on a good day. In high school, Kevin worked at WJJZ in Mount Holly, doing afternoon drive on WTTM Trenton, and a teen dance show on Lower Bucks County Cablevision TV. Although he worked in both radio and TV, Kevin called radio his home. He often said radio wasn't a job, but a way of life. Kevin lived that life, working at close to 80 radio stations around the country. His most prized possession was his collection of radio jingles, air checks, and commercials, which he shared with most everyone that asked. Bill Fox was born and raised as a real estate man. Fortunately, Bill was able to utilize that knowledge for his true delight, broadcasting. In the days when AM radio reigned supreme, Bill and his family became the owners of a small FM station known as WIBF. Radio wasn't the only broadcasting landscape that was changing. Television started to see an increase in independent UHF stations. Thinking this new technology would be the next great investment, Bill and the Fox family started UHF Channel 29 and assembled WIBF TV. For the first time, viewers had a wider range of program selection. Ultimately, Bill sold Channel 29 to Taft Broadcasting, but for several more years kept the radio station that started it all. Today, the TV station is known as Fox 29. While no relationship between the two companies, the Fox name continues at Channel 29. Syracuse native Dr. Edie Klein was the music director of WPEM 950 AM. Ironically, Klein wasn't a doctor at all. Fellow Broadcast Pioneers member Joe Grady gave Klein the nickname after reading copy that had his name on it with his job title, music director, abbreviated as MD. Klein was a big contributor for making the Station of the Stars the success it was. Many listeners remember Ed for his WPEN music specials. Such specials had guest stars including Tony Bennett, Mel Torme, and Vera Lynn. The one Ed was most proud of was his award-winning World War II special, The Road to Victory. However, his career was more than just music. Ed was a voiceover artist for General Mills. His cereal commercials aired during Rocky and Bullwinkle, and he was a booth announcer for New York television before coming to WPEN. Many say that Philadelphia has the most passionate fans in the country. Many had dreams of playing for the Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, or Flyers themselves. However, Tom Maloney had a desire to be a sports reporter. After working construction in Lake Charles, Louisiana, Tom got his big break in Vineland, New Jersey. He did news and sports work on weekend evenings. A few years later, Tom was hired by KYW News Radio to do what he always wanted, sports reporting. Tom gave listeners an in-depth coverage of all major sports teams for 25 years. Tom also branched out to work as a model, teacher, and voiceover talent. Tom wasn't shy about mixing sports. At one point, he, his brother, and their two friends traveled to Clearwater, Florida, where they combined tennis with Tom's covering baseball spring training. Tom Maloney lived sports. Decades ago, Larry Pollock worked in management for ABC and left to go to a much smaller company and their station in Albany. That company was called Capital Cities, which later bought the much larger ABC. Pollock saw what others didn't. Larry Pollock helped change broadcasting forever. Becoming general manager of WPVI, Pollock's notion of people connecting with people continued and improved the basic action news formula originally anchored by Larry Kane. Philadelphians invited Larry, Jim Gardner, Jim O'Brien, Dave Roberts, and Gary Papa into their homes on a daily basis. Following Pollock's direction, they connected instantly with viewers and continued the tradition of making Action News the Delaware Valley's leading news program. In 1991, Pollock became the president of the ABC Capital Cities Television Group and stayed in that position until his retirement in the year 2000. While these people are no longer with us, we will remember their accomplishments forever.
And we have representatives of almost every nominee here tonight, honoree here tonight. They include the first posthumous acceptance, Anne Langery, daughter of Dr. Rick Braidtenfeld, former president of WHYY Radio and TV, will accept on behalf of her father. By the way, Rick was amazing. These were the years when the public station called on all the other people, all the other personalities to join them and help them raise funds. And I first met him at the studio at 46th and Market. Come on up. Congratulations.
What a thrill to be here, and my family thanks you for this special recognition. Pop was a good example of the expression, a life well lived is a life lived in service to others. He found public broadcasting to be his path to help others, and he made it his lifelong career. After he retired from WHYY, he continued serving for the rest of his life as a trustee of the Valley Forge Military Academy and Bucks County Community College. He was a professional mentor to many and a joyful inspiration to all of us. Big thanks to Jerry Wilkinson and the Broadcast Pioneers Organization, and a special shout out to David Othmer and Maureen Barden, who are here with us tonight. Our family is so grateful. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to welcome Joanne Gunnarsson, who is the widow of Kevin Fennessy, who you just heard worked at 80 radio stations across the country. Joanne? All right, we have someone tagging in for Joanne here. Not sure. Oh, Rich, Kevin's brother, will do the honors.
Okay. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to say I am not Joanne. Due to a prior commitment, she's unable to make it here tonight. It's a real honor and a privilege to be here, accepting this much appreciated award for my late brother, Kevin Fennessy. Now, this is a story of a young guy who received a transistor radio and fell in love with what he described as the magic that he heard coming out of it. From the first time he listened to radio personalities like Joe Niagara, High Lit, Dan Donovan, and so many others we've had the opportunity to hear in and around Philly, Kev was hooked. He spent many long hours listening to his radio and emulating the patter that he heard. Now, he walked around the house and neighborhood doing fake forecasts, play-by-play. For a while, my parents and the rest of his siblings thought we had a problem with him, and doctors were called in, but we realized right away that it was just Kev trying to experience what it was going to be like on the air. He quickly got into radio. He had his own little radio station in his room, and after that, he, as a high school student, worked on a cable TV station that just did a headshot, and he played music. And then he was hired at WTTM in Trenton and did late afternoons while still in school. He soon graduated to WPEN in Philadelphia, worked with an all-star staff of guys that were like 50 years older than him. He was still only 20 years old. And his career really took off after WPEN. He worked in Philly at places like Eagle 106, WFIL, and so many other stations. He became a well-traveled journeyman and also an ambassador for the business during this time. It's a shame that back in the day that Kev didn't get frequent flyer miles because he worked in over 40 markets and had like 86 radio stations on his resume. He could have really cleaned up with that, but unfortunately, that wasn't around at the time. He traveled real light with inflatable furniture, a mattress, and beanbag chairs, anything that would fit in his little Volkswagen Beetle. His journey took him to such places as San Antonio, Raleigh, Baltimore, Philly, Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, New York City, and many stops in between. During his career, he was a voiceover talent, an air talent, program director, salesman, general manager, and even dabbled in station ownership. Well, this award tonight is the culmination of a lifetime of hard work, achievement, and also dedication to a business that Kevin loved with his entire heart, soul, and being. On behalf of the Fennessy family and all his friends, I'd like to thank the board of directors, Jerry, members of the Broadcast Pioneers, and congratulate all those being honored tonight. Thank you very much.
Next up, let's introduce and welcome Michael Fires. Michael is the grandson of Bill Fox, who started Channel 29 over 50 years ago. Michael?
On behalf of the Fox family, I would like to thank the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia and especially Jerry Wilkinson for putting this together in honor of my late grandfather, Bill Fox. You have all provided our family with a truly wonderful opportunity to reflect and remember his life together this evening. Broadcasting for Daddy Bill, as we call him, was a lifelong love of his. He hosted a radio show, Conversation with Bill Fox, and he also had so much joy through watching Channel 29 in its inception. We've really enjoyed remembering his passion for broadcasting this evening and celebrating your great industry. Over here, there are 14 members of the Fox family with us tonight. And if any of you knew my grandfather or happened to work at WIBF or Channel 29 in the early years, please come by. We'd absolutely love to reconnect with you, and thanks again.
Now we know why WIBF was temporarily, or for a while, located in Jenkintown, because it's right next to the Fox Pavilion. The next person who's going to represent one of our honorees is Chris Rich, a relative of Tom Maloney, who spent decades at KYW News Radio 1060. Chris?
Tom Maloney was a great gentleman who loved sportscasting. But his career also included tennis with Charles Barkley and some unintentional wrestling with Jane Fonda. Details later at my table. This dignified, meticulous man would crawl under locked gates, hauling what he called his Fred Flintstone tape recorder to get a story. Tom could cut through the chaos to get the quote. Perfect example, Roman Checkmonic, just hired by the Flyers and overwhelmed by reporters because of his very basic grasp of English. Tom saw this and decided to yell, "Roman, why you here?" And Roman, so relieved that he finally understood something, grinned and yelled back, "Stop the puck!" Tom would have loved this award. Thank you, broadcast pioneers and everyone here. Thank you so much.
When I first met Larry Pollock years ago, I never knew that he would have someone named Kane in his family. Representing Larry Pollock, who's truly one of the giants of Philadelphia broadcasting and nationally for ABC and Cap Cities, is his daughter, and I'd like you to meet her. She's representing him. Larry worked here from, I think, 1974 or 75 on, went on to run the ABC television stations, and continued through his duration with Cap Cities and Disney. And right now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Jackie Kane. Jackie's dad was Larry Pollock. Jackie?
Larry, I'm speaking for Jackie.
son David.
Thank you. I'm not Jackie. Good evening. My father loved his job and WPVI TV, Philadelphia broadcasting community. But most of all, he loved the relationships and the friendships of the people that he worked with. And that was my father. So on behalf of my family at Table 32, yay us, thank you to the Philadelphia Pioneers Broadcasting and to everyone here. Thank you very much.